never ever have enough time to play at all. You know everybody wants to walk in someone else's shoes. Everyone's forgotten who they are. Such a grind to waste time.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Otter Creek in Rio Grande and another Building Cloud City video. So I know some of you are probably, well, what happened to the bridge there at Maroon Creek? Have you just completely forgotten about that? And the answer is no. I'm currently working on it. And I would say I've got a good start. I've got probably half of a video in the can, so to speak. And I've got a pretty good prototype for what it's going to look like. I don't know that I will use this one. Some of the proportions in this particular bent I'm not satisfied with, but I think it's just a matter of determining exactly what I'm going to do, just versus the sizes of these things right here. If that works, or if they should be a little smaller, it's just a matter of making a decision. And then I can mass produce everything for, I think I need about 8 of these, maybe 10, we'll see. But that's in the works. I'm working on it right now. It's that time of year where I've got a family reunion, so I've taken off about 10 days from work. I think maybe 13 if you count the weekends. So since I've got that time, I'm going to revisit this section here before the family comes in so that I can have a complete reverse loop going back around the backside into the time saver on the narrow gauge track. So some of you very smartly suggested in the last video that I scribe the backside of this plywood and cut it off so it flushes up against the wall. That's exactly what I'm going to do. And then I'm gonna rethink what is gonna go on here. Without a doubt, whatever I take off of the backside of the plywood here to make it flush up, I'm gonna add in that plus at least 4 inches, maybe 6 inches in this area where the reverse loop will be its fattest. I want to make sure that there's plenty of room. I'm going to go with a 22-inch radius curve, and I want to see what 6 inches is, what that does to the aisle space. It's going to make it less than 36 inches. I'm not sure where it'll land. You won't need to uncouple or couple any cars in that area. The only problem might be if I have visitors looking at the railroad, like in an open house where, I don't know, you might have people coming in while other people are leaving. It might get a little tight in there, but I mean, I don't expect to ever have more than 2 people at a time visiting the railroad. So that's where I'm at. That's what I'm going to get started doing, and I'm going to stop talking and start doing. I've scabbed on another 6 inches. I didn't add anything that I took off. I just went with a 6-inch splicer piece. And so now I've got a notch here, a notch there, here a notch, there a notch, everywhere a notch. But, you know, eventually what's going to happen is once I know where this track is going to lay in a permanent kind of way, then I will begin taking away what is not needed through here from this plywood. And the plan eventually is to lop off, you know, this in a way that will coincide with how the fascia is going to run through here. That's the plan. And now I'm ready to start working with some track and do my best to try and create a reverse loop. It's time once again to see what the coffee buyers have purchased for the Otter Creek and Rio Grande. Now, in full disclosure, this was a little more than what I had available in Buy Me a Coffee, but I would say at least 2/3 of what's in this box was brought to me by those who buy coffee. And I greatly appreciate those guys. So without any further delay, let's see what's inside. Now, before I go any further, I should say that I don't want to appear that I'm shilling for shekels. You know, the Otter Creek and Rio Grande is a model railroad. I'm sharing what I do. I'm not a YouTuber. I'm not trying to make money off of YouTube. I have recently become monetized. That was a hard decision to make, but I figured YouTube is already making money off of me, so why not go ahead and get whatever little bit I'm going to get for monetizing the channel. You guys are, I presume you're already forced to watch commercials, so it's just part of it. I promise I don't ever plan on putting more than maybe 2 commercials in anything, and only after it's already been out for a month. I'll say that my plan is to not put any mid-roll commercials at all in the first evening, which is typically Thursday. You know, Thursday at 9 o'clock, give or take, Central Standard Time is when I try and put out a premiere. No mid-rolls there. And then after that, I will put in 1 mid-roll, and then I might put in 2 more if it's been out and like everybody who wanted to watch it had plenty of time to watch it, and it's just kind of out there for anyone clicking around. So now the thing with this is this is Buy Me a Coffee, and I think I get to keep way more of the money that is given to me on Buy Me a Coffee than I do on YouTube. YouTube is going to take at least 30% of everything. I'm not sure exactly how it works, but YouTube is a lot more convenient. There should be a join button somewhere on the front page there on the landing page for the channel. So you're more than welcome if you're so inclined to click that join. I think I've got a couple, 3 different levels. I made the lowest level like 99 cents or something like that. But I don't plan on doing anything different in how I do the channel. So there you go. Enough said. I promise I won't mention anything about that again for quite some time, maybe if ever. Rail joiners. You can never have too many rail joiners. All right, you can see I got 2 bundles of Code 70 Flex Track HON3, and then I got 1 bundle of dual gauge. And the hope is that the dual gauge, I've got enough now, because I had some on hand already, that I can create an entire reverse loop in Cloud City and be able to turn a train completely around and just stage a bunch of trains back to back to back to back for now. All right, on to something else. Some in progress on how this is going. Now, I did not order enough of the dual gauge track to do what needs to be done. I focused on what needed to be done in Hellgate when I made the purchase, and as mentioned before, this is all just kind of what I'm doing now because it's convenient. But I did have a bunch of Code 55 dual gauge. So I've got 1 piece of Code 70, and then from about here somewhere all the way to here is Code 55. So there's some lumps and bumps in there. I didn't have anything to make the transition smooth. Hopefully that'll be okay. And then we pick up the Code 70 here and back to there, and then I'm kind of officially out of dual gauge. And I will lay in the narrow gauge from here to the back side of where the time saver comes into the yard here. I've got another turnout up there, which you can either go to the right, the straight through track engages with the reverse loop, and then the diverging route from that turnout brings you into the yard. And that's pretty close to the way the track plan represents. So all I have to do is lay that track in, and I will have that completed there. I just got to put in a reversing unit to make sure that I don't get any shorts. And then the other thing I want to do is I got to take a look at where this crossover is and how the yard's going to lay out, because, you know, I think I mentioned in the previous video, the CAD that I'm using has frog to frog at like 10 inches, and my frog to frog with these turnouts need to be closer to 16 inches. So I've got to figure out kind of what's going on in there to get a taste of reality of what I can do, because I think this yard ladder is going to push, if I want them to hold a complete train, I think it's going to push it beyond what the track plan exists at right now. So that's what I'm going to do. Some experimentation off in here, kind of figuring out maybe what I can do with a compound ladder instead of a straight through ladder. things seem to be working out pretty good. What I did is I slid this battery of turnouts further this way by, I didn't measure, but about 10 inches I would guess, maybe more like 18. Still have plenty of room for the E. Carroll Mill and Supply Company. And then I've added this number 6 turnout, which was here. The way this worked out is I didn't need the same length of track, so I ended up with a left-hand turnout here. And then this right-hand turnout will go to the engine service track, is what I'm going to call it. Now, the turntable's not in its correct location. It will be further down this way. I'm not sure how much at this point. But eventually there will be another turnout somewhere here that this track will go off onto. At least that's what I'm thinking. And then the dual gauge can continue at the very least to the corner where I can stage a train on it, or if I want, I can go through the wall. Haven't decided yet exactly on that. So all of the track for the reverse loop is configured and ready to test. And I think that's all there is left to do. I've got the 482 just filled up with some water, so we'll run it around once and see how it does. I didn't film any of it, but right in here, I've got, I believe it's Tam Valley Hex Frog Juicer, and it's going to handle the reversing section of the return loop. I've got about 3 full joints of track that will be the reversing section. And here is the 482. And we'll just get started to see how this works. everything seems to be pretty good. I don't like the transition from code 70 to code 40 out through here, but there's nothing I can do about that at this particular point in time. It's not going to be that way. Now, I think the next thing that I want to consider doing is putting in some more turnouts in through here and kind of see what the length of the ladder is going to be, and if it's going to work the way I think it will, or if it's going to cause me problems. I've gone about as far as I can with what I have available, this weekend without building a bunch more turnouts. And so back here, I've got the left-hand turnout that is ready to go. Then I've got this right-hand turnout. And so I can lay those in and kind of figure out everything else. And I was pleasantly surprised that I was able to get 4 yard tracks, 1, 2, 3, and then this would be a 4th, and then this becomes the ice track, all in the given space. So I can only assume that I was incorrect about the 10-inch spacing that I thought was represented in the CAD, and it must have actually been a 16-inch spacing because everything is working out almost identical to the track plan. The only difference is that I slid all this back. I think it was 68 inches from the wall in the program, and now it's like 48 inches from that first incoming left or right hand turn going off into the engine yard. So it all looks very promising, and it's just a matter of building a bunch of turnouts now, which I don't plan on doing any of that. I'm just going to make use of these 2 here that are all ready to go, and just have to back a train in to the yard for the time being. Now, I might point out, there might be a few of you that are curious about the piece of paper and the pencil rub that I did, so let me close with that. The method to my madness in that pencil rub is to take this, which is a Fast Tracks twist tie, and it's designed to spike rail on top of, you would glue this on your sub road bed wherever you needed it, and then of course you can twist it because these webbings are almost identical to a piece of flex track. Now I do it a little bit different. Once I get that placed in where I want it to be, you can see the webbings run right along the inside of where the radius is on that particular piece of flex track as it exists on the railroad. I just throw the whole thing up on the printer, and I make a couple of different copies of this, and then I can cut this out, and then I will glue it onto a piece of masonite, and I will just build right on top of it with the PCB ties like you would if you were, making a standard hand-laid turnout. Now, if you're a little more interested in this and want a little more information about it, I did do, I think, 3 of these for Hellgate, and I don't know that I went into a great amount of detail, but you could go check out the Building Hellgate playlist that I've got, and I also did an article in the HON3 2024 annual that I talked about how I did that. So I think that's all that I'm going to do in this video, and we'll see you later on the Otter Creek and Rio Grande. Thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and we'll see you around.